Welcome to the Isora Elaine Bean Educational Center.
IED, 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 you ready? IED, 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 I'm ready. Let's go get him, let's go get him. IED, we ready? IED, IED, cause IED is for me.
Hey guys, this is Miss P. You know what I spent a lot of time doing this morning? I spent a lot of time climbing the stairs. I just got to IED a little bit ago and I was thinking, boy, um, I really have a journey ahead of me climbing these stairs. And as I was climbing, I started thinking about the fact that that's how a lot of learners feel when they are learning how to read. And you know what the stairs and reading has in common? Is that to be able to get better in reading is just like climbing stairs. We have to start at a foundational level, a strong support, and then slowly we climb those steps. Today, I want to take you in a little bit deeper. I want to talk to you about the Big Five. I want to talk to you about the big five steps that learners are going to need to take to be able to be proficient in reading and to feel great about being great readers. So let me share my screen with you. If you have a piece of paper, dive in with me for just a second here, because I'm actually going to put this document up on the screen and we're going to build a staircase together. We're going to talk about the big five together. So let's talk about that big five. Okay, let me go down here just a little bit. The very first foundational skill to the big five, and I'm gonna give me just a second here. I gotta always move around my different screens here so I can see. Okay, but the foundational skill to the big five is called phonological awareness. Phonological awareness. This is your base. This is your foundation. This is the part of the big five where learners are able to identify and they're able to manipulate sounds. So think about this particular foundational skill without any text being used. So we're not using letters. We're not using what we call graphemes here. That's another word for letters. We're using sounds only. And within this, kiddos have to be able to manipulate the sounds and they have to be able to identify them. So for instance, if I gave a kiddo a phonological awareness skill, it may be something like this. I might say the word is rat, and I would have the learner repeat the word. So they would repeat the word and they would say rat. Then I would tell the learner, okay, I need you to change the r to what is your new word? And so the learner would delete r and would add, and the new word is hat, hat. That is an example of a phonological awareness skill. It is where kiddos are identifying those sounds. It is where they are manipulating those sounds and they are able to do things with those sounds. Within phonological awareness, there are about 8 different skills that learners are going to need to be able to do with various sounds. So it's important that learners use the correct sounds. And unfortunately, today, there are a lot of sounds that are not pronounced correctly. So we have to make sure that we are pronouncing those sounds correctly so that learners can correctly use the sounds and know how to manipulate and identify those sounds. So the very first skill that your kiddos need to be able to do is phonological awareness. And then from there, we're going to build up. We're going to continue to use some sounds here, but we're going to introduce learners to the text also. So you've probably heard of phonics. That's what phonics is. Phonics it utilizes what we call, let me see here, what we call the alphabetic principle. And within this alphabetic principle, this is where we teach learners that a letter or a group of letters equal a sound. Okay, so we introduce them to text here within phonics, and they learn that a letter or a group of letters make a sound. So for instance, one of the sounds or the letters that's difficult for kiddos is the J sound, because they learn here that there's another way to spell it. So if I thought of the word judge, and I wrote that sound down for kiddos, we'll see at the beginning of the word, J is spelled with just the letter J. But at the end of the word, J is spelled with the letters DGE. That is an example of the alphabetic principle being taught here, that there are multiple ways to actually spell a sound. And so that is your alphabetic principle. Now, within phonics, we need our kiddos to know all of these different spellings and all of these different rules. So we have to be very explicit here and very systematic when we're actually teaching our kiddos, because about 97% of our English language can be taught with phonics skills. So if we do a great job of teaching phonics explicitly and systematically, then our learners will learn it. We will know that they have learned it when within their reading, they are about 95% accurate. So we're looking for 95% accuracy within their phonics reading here. So that next step, phonics, introduces learners to text as well and helps them to realize that a group of letters or a letter equals a sound. That alphabetic principle is key here when it comes to phonics. Once our learners have mastered phonics, they are able to start learning about this next step. This next step is fluency, and this is where learners are going to be maintaining that 95% accuracy, but we're also going to introduce them to a rate for their grade level. This is called words per minute. So now that they're accurate, now we can increase how many words per minute they're actually reading, and at every single grade level, there is a certain amount of words per minute that your learner is going to be needing to learn how to read in the fall and in the winter and in the spring. So that is your fluency piece, where they're learning to read words per minute. However, the one thing that we don't want learners to do is to speed read. So we're never teaching them to speed read. However, we are teaching them to make sure that they maintain a specific word per minute count. So you want to make sure that you get with your teachers and you figure out what those words per minute are, okay? The other thing here in fluency that gets very exciting is that learners start learning to read with prosody or with expression. We want them to learn how to read with expression and not to sound robotic here. So as learners are learning to develop fluency, they also start picking up vocabulary. And that's that next step. When you think about phonological awareness and you think about the phonics piece, learners really haven't been picking up as much vocabulary here. Instead, they've been learning their sounds. Then they start learning how to tie a sound to a letter or a group of letters with phonics. But when they come to fluency, now because they're able to read so many words per minute, they start being exposed to all this amazing vocabulary. So this is where learners really start picking up their vocabulary. They start thinking about and recognizing specific words, and they understand the meaning of those words as well. This is where vocabulary comes into place. And we start seeing learners being able to pay attention to the text. So if we gave learner a specific word, they would know based on the text what that word actually meant, if it's hidden within the text. So vocabulary gets really interesting here. Then finally, that very last skill, and we hear about this all the time, this is comprehension. This is the ultimate goal here. The ultimate goal is comprehension. Okay, so this is where learners are able to start reading independently. They already read with 95% accuracy. They already read their specific amount of words per minute without speed reading, as we discussed earlier. But they can read independently at their grade level, and they can understand and comprehend what they're learning. This is also when they are really good with those comprehension strategies like inferencing and pulling out the key detail and talking about the central message of a text. So comprehension is the ultimate goal, but they cannot get there if they do not first have this nice, strong foundation down here that we talked about, and we start exposing them to these other grade level skills. We start exposing them to the phonics, to the fluency, to the vocabulary, to the comprehension. And you will find that a really good Big Five program is going to make sure that it hits all of these various areas, and it's going to make sure that there's checks and balances in place to make sure that learners are being proficient in each area before moving on. So I encourage you to get with your learner's teacher to see exactly where they are on the Big Five. Now, if you would like to learn more about the Big Five, we have a blog series article that is being posted on our website. So feel free to go check that out. But if you want to go even deeper and you want to learn more about the Big Five, then we have a course that is available to you also. So check out our course as well so that you can learn more about the Big Five. Okay, I am so excited that I had an opportunity to sit with you guys for just a couple of minutes and to be able to learn more about this Big Five and talk to you about it. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions that you may have about the Big Five. Take good care, and I'll talk with you soon.
Cause IED